Hi, Trinity from Esoteria. Real talk, it's been one of those days where in perimenopause, because that's where I'm at in my life, I am hot one minute and cold the next. So I spent half the day with a sweater on and the other half in my bra. That's the type of day I'm having. But I kind of felt this really strong urge to do a reading for y'all. And I also felt a real big urge to try it in this room because I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to make this room in my house my tarot room or if I'm going to be making my other room, which is a little darker, my tarot room. So we're going to try this out here. See if this works. We're going to get a message from Spirit. And today I am going to use my handy dandy divination board. So sexy. Just like me today. I worked this morning and then I took the afternoon and just sat on my butt. I hope you had just as much of an enjoyable day. But now it's time to get a little work done. So today we're going to be using the Citadel Oracle, the Steampunk Lenormand. Hold on just a second. I'll show you the boxes. They're pretty cool. There's the Steampunk Lenormand. Here is the Citadel Oracle. We're also going to be using the Kipper deck, as well as just a simple Rider-Waite-Smith. Well, this isn't Smith. This is Rider-Waite Tarot, but it's not Pamela Coleman Smith's art. So, all right, let's go ahead and start with the divination board. If you've not watched a video with my divination board, I made this as a tool for people who are in recovery as well as people who are outside of recovery. It's got 12 wedges, okay? 12 wedges for 12 steps, 12 houses of the zodiac, or 12 houses of the birth chart, the 12 zodiac signs, and then I can also do a life balance wheel with it. If this is something that you're interested in, you can email me at trinity@esoteria.com, or no, sorry, esoteriallc.com, and I will make you one and send it out. So if you want one, give me a call, let you know how much the price is. We'll calculate the shipping and go from there. All right. I call upon only entities of love, light, and truth to join me in this reading to give a clear and specific message as to what we can do just for today for our recovery. Okay? Okay. So right now, what I am seeing on the life balance wheel is I'm using runestones that are made out of moonstone, but I'm not going to actually be reading the symbols on the runes because I'm not very good at reading runes and I don't have my guidebook with me. But I can show you guys the symbols, and that way if you are someone who reads runes, you can certainly do that. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the very first stone we have out is the blank rune. And that landed on the third step. So that is, if anything, that you may need to go back to your daily life and see where you are really not wanting to relinquish control. Obviously, if you're in recovery and you're struggling to give up drinking or drugging, that's the decision that's the most important. It's the decision to turn your will and your life over to a power greater than yourself, okay? So if that's where you're at, that's perfectly fine. And that is something that is really important to really chew and comprehend. Not like the first step where you have to really acknowledge that. And honestly, if you're struggling with the third step, always go back to the second step. Anytime you're working on a step and you're really struggling to do it, it means that you did not do the step before it thoroughly enough. So go back a step, finish up what you need to do to make it thorough, and then the next step should come in a pretty easy cadence for you. But this one is showing me that you've got an opportunity to turn your will and your life over to your higher power. So that could be something like doom scrolling. It could be something as far as like just if you are a love addict, if you are a food addict, it really doesn't matter what you have the attachment to. Making the decision to turn your will and your life over to your higher power as you understand it is going to be that new beginning that you're asking for. It looks like we've got some prayer going there. Okay. Now, the next one that we have is in the fifth house, or the fifth step. So, and this is this rune. I don't know if it goes this way or if it goes this way. So it looks like if you've been working steps, the recommendation for working on that step for the fifth step is to make sure that you may feel some reluctance, but remember, if you've made that decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of a power greater than yourself, going through that fourth step, it looks like that's already happened. And the fifth step, you may be really struggling and anxious about divulging a lot of vulnerable stuff that you put on paper. Don't worry about it. Honestly, as a person who's sponsored, I've heard a lot of stories. I've done a lot and had to share my stories. We've all done some things that we are really ashamed of. You would be surprised. But that doesn't mean that we are going to be, if we let go and let God and share it with another human being, that's really where we release it. We comprehend that we can move forward through forgiveness of the self, through asking for forgiveness of others if that's something that you did to hurt them. But the most important part about that fifth step is it also will help you identify, because this is the third rune that came out, is right between step 6 and 7. And this is an arrow, if you see that. I think it actually goes this way. All right. And for some reason, I'm hearing family. So you'll have to let me know in the comments if you read runes and that's the rune that implicates family or indicates family. There may be somebody that was an example I'm hearing of certain behaviors. So that's where you learned that behavior. And you may not realize that there's a different way of doing things. And that's where your sponsor or whoever you share your fifth step with, that's a misnomer. If you think you have to share your fifth step with your sponsor, that's not the case. You can share it with anyone, really. Clergy is a good option. Another trusted friend who's also in the program. I would recommend not doing it with like your spouse or your parents. I would get someone who is a little more unbiased toward your case, okay? But the thing that you're noticing with this is the fact that there are some patterns in there that you learned from childhood from a caregiver. And you're being asked through this to actually change that generational loop that's been going on from one generation to the next. You're the one here sent here to stop that. And that's a tall order. I'm not going to lie. It can be kind of intimidating, but you can do it. You really can, especially when you're surrounding yourself with communities such as a 12-step community or any other kind of recovery support groups. They always say it's not an I program, it's a we program. And that's where it's really, really important to remember that as you move forward, because we keep each other in check and we keep each other safe. That's why the phone list is so, so important. Because you want to get to know people on your good days. So don't just call people on your bad days. Get to know people, develop that rapport with them, and then that way they'll actually be a little bit more inclined to, note when something's wrong on your end that you are struggling to say out loud or to sit down and be a sounding board for you, okay? That's the whole point of it, is to build community with one another. All right, so I want to actually take this and get a little bit of clarification with my my oracle cards on this particular board that I've got. So let's see if I can find a spot for the board. Maybe. Okay. Okay. Yay. All right. So I've got my board sitting in front of me with the runes cast. I'm being told we are going to start with the Citadel. I love these cards. I just, any kind of card that's something other than a rectangle, I get super excited about. So the fact that these are like in an odd shape just brings this sensory input that delights me. So I'm very pleased with this purchase. Lanterns may be significant for you. You may have been in an isolatory phase, like a hermit mode type of a thing recently, but definitely something with a lantern. I will try, if I remember, I'll try and get some more clarification as to what that sign is pointing to, because it seems to be confirmation about something. The other symbol that I'm seeing in this is a circle. Know that anytime you see a circle in your environment, that for right now, it's not necessarily this is what it's going to mean for the rest of your life, but for in this moment in your life, I'm hearing things are coming full circle. Okay, so especially if it's not just like a dot, but like an actual circle or an Ouroboros, if you see those, a ring of some kind, those are indicative of things coming full circle. Okay. I'm also seeing rhododendron. I don't know why rhododendron is coming up, but I'm seeing that particular flowering bush. So you may have a rhododendron in your yard. That could be just confirmation for you. It may be that rhododendron is a favorite flower of a passed on loved one, and that's their way of saying hello. I'm also seeing peaches in particular. And I'm hearing, isn't life sweet? Or to remember how sweet life can be. And the peach is more denoting an innocence, an innocent phase of life that is very, very sweet. So it could be pointing to maybe growing peaches in your own yard, or being from the peach state, or remembering eating peaches straight off the tree when you were young. Like that, I'm feeling that less as like a symbol and more of a memory that's coming through. So that may be significant for you. Just because I'm saying these doesn't mean that it is or isn't your reading. It just may mean that you need to pay a little bit closer attention to it if these are resonating with you. I'm seeing a swan for some reason. Swans could be significant. So could bluebirds. And birds in general, but specifically swans and bluebirds. Symbols with two hands holding something out, or two hands in prayer, two hands doing this, just any kind of symbol where it's just not just one hand, but two hands. And I'm hearing that is a reminder to be cooperative with other people and helping people with a hand up instead of a hand out, and also not being afraid to if there's a hand that is a helping hand to receive it, those two hands, that's the reminder there. Let's go ahead and pull, now that I've kind of gotten that out of the way. Bells, specifically bluebells, and it could be the ice cream or it could be the actual flower bluebells. May be significant for you. I'm not really sure why they're coming through, but that is definitely something coming through. And then also the little tiny bells that are often found on Christmas ornaments could be significant for you. Christmas could be your favorite holiday. It could be a time of year that you remember fondly. It could be a time of year that you regret and would like to make better. But those are just some of the confirmations. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. It just all of a sudden started flooding. That's kind of how this goes. All right, Spirit, what does my collective need to know just for today for clarification on the board? Why steps 3, 5, 6, and 7, please? All right. The first card we got is the Painter, Productivity, Creation. Okay, that's such a beautiful card. Okay, so here's the other thing I love about it. They're like foiled and colorful, and yet kind of monochromatic in their own way. I just love this deck. So the Painter, I am painting tomorrow in Savannah. I'm super excited about that because I'm going to be meeting some friends over there. So... And I'm almost seeing, it's funny because in the paint, I think these are supposed to be roses in here, but I'm still seeing rhododendrons. And so that's being made very, very like front and center, the rhododendron. You might look up the symbology of the rhododendron as well. And then the witch, experimentation and rebellion. Okay. I was actually just talking with my friend Sarah about how she wanted to talk with me about, you know, getting in touch with her witchy side and learning tarot and getting more into spirituality and, you know, all of the chaos that comes with all of that, because you get a lot of questions as to, you know, like, am I doing right? Am I, you know, because you will have a lot of people bucking up against you saying that's not normal and you need to fall in line. And I'm here to tell you, not one bit. Be yourself. God made you a certain way. And if God gave you the inclination to practice witchcraft, if God gave you the inclination to start manifesting, so long as your intentions are for the greater good, you're fine. It's when we start letting our ego influence and we're like, manifesting money and not worrying about who we're walking over and we're ending up hurting people with our practices, that's when it turns into something not so good. It can get into the gray area. And then definitely if you are not that there are some people who practice gray witchcraft, there's some people who practice only white. That's totally up to the individual. But what I will say is that anytime you are influencing someone else's free will, that in my practice is a cardinal sin. That's why I do not practice love magic. If anybody's learning from me, I refuse to teach that. Why? Because it freaking works. And it's also a lie. You know, you want that boy so much that you're going to do witchcraft on him to get him involved with you. That's just manipulation. And that is getting into a relationship under false pretenses. Trust me, if that relationship is divinely guided, you will not need to use witchcraft in order to make that happen. Okay? Just be your authentic self. They will love you for who you are. And if they don't, they're not the one for you. You want to hold out for the one who's meant for you. Okay? I don't know why but evidently somebody needed to hear that. Or they needed to hear that I don't practice that. You know, and I don't, anything that goes against someone else's free will, because I don't like it done to me. I've had it done to me. It's not pleasant. So I don't, anything that hurts somebody else or messes with their free will, I do not engage with. So, all right. About the only thing I do is pray for people, pray for their healing, and that's what I'm supposed to do with my 12-step program that I work. So, anyway, let's go ahead and do the painter first. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a message as I'm flipping through here, and it's not for you, it's for me. Okay, you know what? We're going to do the witch first because that's the one that came up. All right. The world is full of old wisdom, but some advice is too outdated for the modern lives we live now. Tradition is the set of guidelines, not a strict rule book. If you find that you're being held back by how you should approach a situation, break from the tradition and forge your own route. Surround yourself with others who think outside the box and embrace a new tradition. Okay? So, there it is again. Keeps popping out. I don't need to know. There we go. All right. The painter is the other one. All right. Within you is a font of creativity waiting to burst forth. Hold on just a second. This is not just the sort of creativity that requires a paintbrush or pen, but the ability to bring about a vision, to know your own voice and what you bring into the world. Don't let anything hold you back. This is your chance to embrace that vision, to follow your instincts, and to bring about something beautiful and new. Okay? All right, so based on those two, and I'm going to put my guidebook right there. Based on these two, what it's kind of telling me is that you are kind of holding yourself back in the way that you have a job. You have the job you have because that's what either your parents told you needed to go into, or that's what society said would be best, and you're really bored with that job, or you are following a spiritual path because that's what you grew up with, but you're kind of not really jiving with it and you want to explore new things. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, the more we can look at other spiritual paths and take from them what works for us, as far as our own spiritual path, the more grounded you're going to be within your spirituality. So I highly recommend, like, if you've never known anything about Hinduism, go visit a Hindu temple. Wear a shirt with shoulders on it, because they will kick you out if you have a tank top on, especially as a female. But go and just sit there, research it online, do something like that. But you're being asked to kind of break tradition, and to set forth and do something completely and totally unique with yourself, something out of the ordinary. So like right now, in my mundane job as a behavioral technician, I am learning about what is known as the ascent process. Or ascent training, which is hysterically funny because it's spelled differently than this ascension, but it's kind of like with both of them, I'm learning how to ascend, as we all are when we're on a spiritual path. That's the whole point, is to elevate, to ascend, to expand, right? And I'm hearing that the reason why I'm bringing that up is because ascent is similar to consent, except it's when there's no legal ability to make that consent happen. Okay, and so think a child who is engaging with play willingly, that is, they're ascending to that play. And if they decide, you know what, I'm done playing, and they walk away, that is them withdrawing their ascent. Okay. Whereas compliance training is where it's like, no, you're going to play and you don't get to go and do anything else because this is the time that we have set to play, blah, 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 And so there's a different approach to it. So you may be trying to find a different approach to exploring your spirituality, exploring the career path you want to go down, exploring the relationships that you have in your life. The world, I'm hearing the world is your oyster with this. We just need to be making sure that we're not blocking ourselves. And in fact, you know what? Going back to this divination board and seeing that step 5, I think you're going to probably find it within the patterns of behavior that a lot of the reason why you've been blocked from doing this in the first place is because of how you were raised, because of what you were told, the belief systems that were instilled by caregivers. That is something that it is going to be made very, very apparent for you. That does not mean that once that belief is gone, that you shouldn't, you can still hold compassion, still be very loving to those people, and they may return the favor. But I tell you what, you don't need to believe everything that your parents told you, because oftentimes it is taught to you maybe with some good intention, but out of fear. And that fear maybe held them back. Maybe your dad retired from a job that he worked for 40 years but absolutely hated and was miserable, and now he's got, disease that's crept in and manifested within his body because he's been stressed out and angry for so long because he didn't like his job. Well, maybe you're the one being called to go forth and do something different, okay? All right, let's go ahead and I'm being told Kipper next. I'm really liking doing this reading in this room. It's kind of interesting. I feel a much better flow than in the other room where I've been doing it. So, all right. Oh, you have a message coming. Okay. All right. And I'm being told to pull from the Lenormand deck next. So I'm just getting one from the Kipper. This will be very interesting to see what happens with this. Okay, Spirit, what do you have for my collective today? That one. Okay, I've got number 35, Anchor, and number 12, Parrot. I think I know it. I don't have my Lenormand memorized, but I think I'm going to be laughing once I read what parrot means. So first, let's go ahead and do 35, which is Anchor. Positive. Destination, staying put, stable, deep ties, persistence, and holding tightly. Okay. So whatever you've been doing that's been working for you, do definitely continue to work on. Keep doing what's working. Don't be afraid to change up some stuff, and know that even though you're investigating other pathways, that doesn't mean that it's going to change who you are fundamentally. I'm being told that that was a really important message for someone out there. And number 12, birds. Neutral versus negative. Communication, chatting, small gatherings, short visit, little outing, a presentation, or gossip. Okay. I was thinking that it was going to say message again, but it did not. So, glad I didn't try and get too big for my britches. All right, so let me go ahead and pull the tarot on those three. In fact, I'm going to move these up here so that I have plenty of space for my tarot. You like my TV tray? Because I don't have any furniture in this room yet. So I'm like, let's just see. Let's just do a reading in here and see if I vibe with the energy. And, okay, you got a message, definitely. And see if, okay, so I'm hearing that there is a message coming from a distance. And these fell out onto the message card. So let's go ahead and see if that is 10 of Wands and Temperance. Okay, so this message may be one where you kind of feel overburdened by it. Just know that you can find some balance within yourself in order to handle it. And honestly, ask for help in handling it. You don't have to carry these burdens by yourself anymore. You don't have to be the person who does all of the things. You can get help. All right, next one. The Sun. And the Page of Pentacles. Okay. All right. Let's see what's at the bottom of the deck. The World. Okay. So this, you're going to know how to handle this, but you're being asked actually to maybe help in the situation that comes forward, but in a way that you can kind of take the leadership role but delegate responsibility to other people. Allow them to come in, and if they don't know exactly what to do, you can explain it, but you don't have to. I don't want to see someone over here feeling overburdened and then not doing their step work, because they all of a sudden have all of this focus on that, because um, you need to share the load. You need to learn how to share the load, I'm hearing. Then the other thing is you actually have started something that Spirit really wants you to continue with, because right now it may seem like it's not going anywhere, but that's because it's in its infancy. When we have, think about it this way, when you conceive a baby, it takes 9 whole months for you to gestate it, give birth to it, but then it also takes perhaps another 9 months to a year before that baby's walking. Okay, so be patient with it, but the truth is that is actually one of the missions you have on this planet, is specifically within whatever you started recently, that you're being asked to continue moving forward with. It doesn't mean that it has to be all consuming as far as your time, because clearly we live in a world where we have other responsibilities. But that is also why that is why you're being asked to not take on all of the burden moving forward with whatever you get from the message. Okay, again, share the load when you can. There may be 1 or 2 things, like, think about it this way. There may be 1 or 2 wands that you have to handle yourself, but the other 8 you can give to somebody else. Okay. And quite frankly, it's going to draw you closer together. This is the Temperance card, so this isn't necessarily the meaning, but intuitively I'm looking and seeing the exchange between the 2 cups specifically, and how that actually lifts everybody up out of the problem. Whereas if it was just you and you were trying to give and give and give, your cup is going to eventually be empty and then no one benefits from it. So it is actually very important to be cooperative with other people through this time. So that not just the fact that you need to be working on this other thing and babying it, nurturing it, watering those seeds so that they can take root and sprout, and you can reap the harvest later on. But this is going to take some time, and but it still does need attention, even though it doesn't seem like it's doing much of anything right now. I'm hearing that is part of the process. Adopting an air of patience will be very beneficial to you moving forward. That it? I'm hearing there's 1 more message, and I'm being told to put these back in here. And this isn't a message from someone else. This is a message from Spirit himself. I'm being told to clear the table because this has nothing to do with anything that was on the table. All right. Oh, well, we've got the truth again. What do you have to tell the collective, please? I'm being told to hold it a different way. There's something that you need to make a slight change on what you're doing. It will actually help the trajectory in what you're attempting to do so that it's more efficient and success comes to you faster. It's just a little tweak that you need to make, not much of one, okay? Spirit, what other message do you have? That's too many. Okay. Because we don't care if it's too many. All right, Queen of Swords. You're going to have a decision to make coming up soon. But you also need to understand that God has already made a decision about you, and that is the fact that you are worthy of good things in life, and you need to be walking around as if you have a crown, as if you've been crowned. Okay. You may need to work a little bit on your crown chakra, as a little side message to that. But you are a king or a queen in God's eyes. And that means that a king or a queen, is a public servant. So don't get too egotistical about it. But the fact of the matter is that God really, really, really loves you with this Queen of Swords. Okay. I'm hearing both cut the bullshit. No, I'm hearing just cut the bullshit. And I think that's talking about the negative self-talk. Like if you've been beating yourself up, calling yourself lazy or worthless or bullying yourself, that needs to stop. It's time. Just make the decision, and that could be that decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of a higher power. It may be that it's asking you to quit that, and that seems like a simple thing. It's actually harder than it sounds. But once you can control the mind, you can actually start manifesting things into your life that are really beneficial for not just yourself, but for others. Okay? All right. Knight of Wands. Seven of Cups. Judgment. Nine of Swords. Page of Pentacles again. And the Ace of Pentacles. Okay. 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 All right. So, you actually, maybe, like if you're looking for a job right now, you may have multiple different opportunities coming forward, that, in options for work. Use your discernment. Be a little guarded. Do some research on the company that's offering you the position, and then make a choice from there. Because you don't want to get stuck with, don't allow your work to treat you like a bad ex-boyfriend is what I'm hearing. Okay. You're going to have to feel your feelings though. There may be someone who also, this may not be, this is not career oriented. This is, there may be someone from your past who comes in. It is not to reconcile it, even though they may be like, let's try again. It's the reason why they're coming into your life is not because it's giving you another opportunity to reconcile. Okay. It is because you have got, some closure that you're going to be offered in the situation. However, that closure, I'm talking like you maybe are still pining for someone, and they come in, and the person they're dating and engaged to comes in, and that's the closure that you get. You may not even talk to them, but whatever it is may trigger you to have some negative emotions about it, but it also is going to be a way for you to release that and let that go. Okay. I'm hearing that they have been particularly tough to let go. And so that's why you're being offered this opportunity to see what's happening on their side for yourself so that you can release yourself from that situation. I'm so sorry. Oh, I hate that for you. But you can also take this as confirmation and say, okay, Spirit, I get it. They've moved on. So I'm going to make the decision to move on too. Again, that decision to turn your will and your life over to a power greater than yourself. You can use this as clarification for that and confirmation for that. And then as far as the baby that you're working on, going back to that other thing, this will help make space so that you can focus on that, because that is going to start bringing in the pentacles sooner than you think if you can release this Knight of Wands. If you didn't know, the Knight of Wands is the fuckboy of the tarot. I said what I said. All right. And see, He plays the field. They want me to go back to this original message. The truth is that you are so loved by the divine, and you need to make the decision to turn your will and your life over to it, and allow yourself to be unconditionally loved by God. Okay? That will be the best decision you ever make for yourself. Okay? If no one's told you today, know that I love you. Take care.